was faster and faster.
I don't think Pedro Acosta leaving is KTM's biggest problem. And I don't think another mechanical failure is either. I think they're symptoms of something much bigger, because KTM has spent nearly a decade racing in MotoGP. They've won races, they've developed incredible riders, and they have invested heavily. So today I want to ask one question. Why has KTM never succeeded in building a championship winning MotoGP team? Because I don't think the answer is as simple as the motorbike. Welcome back to With Antone MotoGP. Now look, KTM has never lacked speed. KTM has never been a failure on the racetrack in MotoGP. They have won races and they've even challenged Ducati and Aprilia on their day. Brad Binder has delivered some remarkable results over the history, and Pedro Acosta immediately showed world championship potential. Technically, you'd have to say they're one of the boldest manufacturers on the grid. So this isn't a story about a slow motorcycle. It's a story about why speed has never become sustained success. The project seems to never stop changing. This is the pattern that we keep coming back to. Every time KTM looks ready to take the next step, the project changes. New riders, new technical direction, new personnel. And now guess what? 2027 looks like another reset year. Pedro Acosta's leaving and Alex Marquez and Digia are arriving in the factory team. And Tech 3 may have an entirely new rider lineup. Once again, KTM is rebuilding. So the question becomes, why does this keep happening? Now the latest symptom. Assen wasn't just important because KTM suffered another mechanical problem. It was important because of what Pedro Acosta said afterwards. When it starts to become a safety issue, I think it's time to really get it checked out. And then he asked the question that really caught my attention. Who's to say it won't happen again? When your lead rider publicly starts questioning confidence, the conversation has to change. This is not about reliability anymore. This is about that simple word, trust. And trust is something every MotoGP rider needs, especially when they're doing 350 kilometers per hour. Now, the engine question. One story that hasn't received enough attention is KTM's request to all the other MotoGP manufacturers. Because right now, under the current regulations, all engines are sealed, but KTM believe there's an underlying issue and want permission to open their engines to investigate. All the manufacturers, bar Aprilia, have said no. Now, at first this sounds harsh, but this is MotoGP. Ducati, Yamaha and Honda aren't there to solve KTM's problems. They're competitors. So KTM now faces a difficult situation. If the problem really lies inside the engine, they may have to continue racing without fully understanding it until the regulations allow them to change. Now, whether you agree with this decision or not, it highlights how serious KTM believes this issue could be. Now, KTM, is this really a technical problem? Because I think this is where the story gets bigger. Because I don't believe it's only about an engine or one faulty sensor or one stuck throttle. They are all technical problems, but they sit inside something much larger, and that is the KTM MotoGP project. Every successful MotoGP manufacturer eventually reaches a point where the organisation becomes stronger than the individual parts. Ducati didn't become dominant because of just one engine or one rider. They built a system designed for success. And that's the one question I keep asking about KTM. Has their organisation matured at the same pace as the development of their motorcycle? Now we have to talk about leadership, and that's the question we've got. Now, Pit Bera has been the face of KTM Motorsport for years. His personal story, extraordinary. A world-class motocrosser whose career ended after a life-changing incident before he returned to build one of the biggest racing programs in the world. Nobody questions his commitment, but leadership in MotoGP is different. Now, Beer recently admitted something for me that really stood out. We never planned to lose Pedro Acosta. Now, immediately that tells me two things. First, Acosta was central to KTM's future. And second, somewhere between the plan and reality, the project lost control of its most valuable asset. This isn't just a rider story, this is a management story. Of course, in the management team, Aki Ayo, well, look, if there's one person in KTM who truly understands Grand Prix racing, it has to be him. More than 20 years in the Grand Prix paddock, multiple Moto3 world champions. He's brought Brad Binder, I should say, through, and Pedro Acosta, and supported many other riders. A proven pathway that has produced MotoGP riders again and again. So here's a question. I generally don't know what the answer is. Maybe you guys can help me. How much influence does Aki Ayo have over KTM's MotoGP direction? Because if anybody understands what it takes to build a championship-winning program, it has to be him. So what's happening there? Look, maybe KTM solves this current engine issue, and maybe the latest failures really are unrelated. Maybe the next bike and the next development changes everything. But I don't think today's story is about one sensor, one engine, or even one rider in Acosta leaving. I think it's about a MotoGP project that still hasn't found a stability needed to consistently challenge for a world championship. Look, it's quite clear, KTM, they've never lacked ambition. It's never lacked investment. They're over their financial troubles. And it's never lacked talent. Look at Pedro Acosta. But MotoGP teams don't win championship just on horsepower alone. They win them on trust. Trust between the riders, the engineers, the management, and of course, trust in the motorcycle. And right now, that's one thing a KTM appears to be trying to rebuild. So perhaps the biggest question isn't whether the next technical problem gets fixed, it's whether KTM can finally stop rebuilding and start building something that lasts. But I'd love to hear what you think. Why do you think KTM still hasn't become a genuine championship force in MotoGP? Do you think it's the bike, the riders, the regulations, or do you think it's the leadership? Or has it been simply the case that Ducati has set such a standard in recent years that it's incredibly difficult to reach? And don't forget, if you've enjoyed today's episode, then give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, welcome. Why not subscribe? And why not share this video around? Okay, listen, thanks for watching this week, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon. Okay, bye for now.
Faster and faster.